Welcome to this GiftWorks quick video. I'm Jonathan Lehman, and in this video I'm going to be reviewing a new feature in GiftWorks 2010 that allows you to merge two donors. GiftWorks 2010 is the latest release of GiftWorks. It was released on September 8th, 2009. This new feature in GiftWorks 2010 allows you, once you've identified that two donors in your database are really the same donor, allows you to merge those two donors into a single donor, moving all the information from the one donor to the other donor. I'm going to demonstrate this by signing into GiftWorks. For my example, I'll go to the donors dashboard, and my recently added donors. You'll see that I have a Jonathan Lehman and a Johnny Lehman. And at some point, I've determined that these two are really the same donor. And I really want them to be one donor, because without that, I might accidentally send duplicate mailings. It does not give me an accurate reflection of this donor's total giving or total activity with our organization. So I really want to merge those two donors into one single donor. If you have the property authority and no one else is in the database, this requires exclusive access to the database, you can go to Settings, Additional Settings and Tools, and you click the option to merge donors. One of the most important things to remember is because this is moving a lot of information from one donor to the other and then permanently deletes the one donor, it is very important to back up your database before you take this option. So we give you a couple links here. You can click the backup. I'm going to back that up. So I backed up my database. And the other thing that is important is that you might want to print some reports or things like that. Kind of look at your two donors and maybe print reports, take screenshots, whatever, before you merge these two donors. So I'm going to go back here and I'm actually going to kind of show you the two donor. Again, we'll go back here to the donors dashboard. If you look at Jonathan Lehman, I'll bring Jonathan Lehman up, and you can see that Jonathan has had activity with our organization. We kind of have a record of him as being associated with a company called Mission Research. And you can see we have various things like relationships. He's related as an employer of Mission Research. He's had some pledges and some gifts. We've had some notes. A note about his son being a college student. He's part of a donation mailing. We have a task to call him about the annual fund, so forth. So we might want to do a print summary, which would print a lot of this information so we can reference it afterwards to make sure that the information was moved over as we wanted. So we might want to print that report. We might want to do a file print. I'll just do a print preview here. We might want to do file print and maybe print information here also. Print the different screens there. So we might want to go into each of these and print those. So that's Jonathan Lehman. We might go into Johnny Lehman. And we notice that he's in here, though he's the same individual, he's in here more as an individual. And we notice that he's a golf enthusiast, and he's in some groups and some mailing lists. We might want to do the print summary. We might want to print his information. So we have a record of a lot of that. Whatever reports we think, whatever screenshots we think, just to kind of have any record of what his information was prior to the merge. The merge will try to bring over everything it can, and where there's a conflict, the donor that you're keeping will preserve that. And I'll give you a couple examples. Let's look at, you can notice here that things like mailing lists, that Johnny Lehman is in the Golf Classic promotion list. He's in the Golf Classic sponsor group. He has some of his own donations, which are different. He has a relationship to his wife, Jackie, which is different than the Jonathan Lehman had that employer relationship. He has some different notes and tasks. Let's edit this donor. I want to show you something else that also, he has some information down here about the categories, an individual household, he's a friend of, and a job title, software developer. If I edit Jonathan Lehman, we'll notice that he has a picture, he has some other, he maybe has a description, has a little bit of different information, different addresses. He has more the business address of where he works and some things like that. His job title is slightly different, but he has a job title. He doesn't have a category at source, and he's in some different groups. He's in the major prospects group, and I think if we go out here, he's also in a different mailing list. He's in the newsletter mailing list. So think about the fact that when you merge these two donors, you're going to pick one to keep and one that you're going to merge. And the donor that you keep should have sort of an aggregate of all the information from both donors. So let's we'll go in here. We'll go to the settings area. And we'll go into additional settings and tools. We're going to merge donors. And I basically have two sides here. I need to pick the donor to merge and the donor to keep. The donor to merge is the donor that I'm going to get rid of. If you hover here, it kind of gives you a reminder of what this donor is you're selecting. It's anything associated with this donor will be moved to the donor to keep. And this is the donor that will be permanently deleted from GiftWorks. So since I know that I want to get rid of Johnny Lehman and I want to merge him into Jonathan Lehman, I'm going to pick Johnny Lehman here. So I can select Johnny. And then I'm going to over here, this is the donor to keep. This is the donor that will remain in GiftWorks, and anything associated with the donor to merge will be moved to this donor. So this will be Jonathan Lehman. So we kind of side by side, we don't show all the information, but we show you some information to kind of make sure that you're identifying the correct donor on either side here. So you can kind of see here, this is the Jonathan Lehman that was more associated with had some information about his company, things like that. You can see his giving's a little different, but you look at the total giving. So when we're done, you know, we're going to look and kind of see what happened, what was moved over. So it's as simple as this. Once you've done your backup, once you've kind of printed whatever reports or whatever information you want to maybe have printed on hard copies, so when you're done, you can kind of look at your new donor, because most likely you might need to do a little cleanup, just make sure you have all the information in for that donor the way you want. So once you have all that done, you select the donor to merge and the donor to keep. You simply click the merge button. It asks you to confirm that you are about to merge Johnny Lehman and Jonathan Lehman, and you can't undo these changes. It's just a reminder that hopefully you did a backup. Once you're okay, you click merge, and it just says Johnny Lehman was successfully merged with Jonathan Lehman, and you're done. Let's just kind of look at what this did. If I go back to my recently added donors, you'll see that Johnny Lehman is no longer there. If I open up Jonathan Lehman, you'll see, remember how that they each were in a different mailing list. Now Jonathan Lehman is in both mailing lists, and they were in individual groups. Remember, Johnny Lehman was the golf enthusiast, so he was in the Golf Classic sponsor group, and it added him, so it sort of aggregated the groups. Relationships, they had different relationships. Jonathan Lehman had the relationship to Mission Research. It brought over the relationship for Jackie Lehman. It brought over the gifts from Johnny Lehman. It brought over his notes and tasks and his mailing history. And I think basically the other thing I want to show you, if I go in to edit this donor, it tried to bring over as much information as it could. So one of the things, we'll come back to addresses, but down here, remember how Johnny Lehman had some of this additional information and brought that over. It maintained the senior developer. I think it was in as a software developer, something different for Johnny. So since basically Jonathan Lehman, since he's the donor we're keeping, for any of these attribute type of information, for anything that you would have to overlay one thing with another, it just preserves the donor that you're keeping. So that might be where you might want to review this and kind of make sure that you got the information you wanted here. All the other information that can be aggregated, like groups or mailing lists or like task history, note history, relationships, all that stuff will be sort of an aggregate of the two donors. Notice what it did with the addresses. We had different addresses. We had more of the business address for Johnny Lehman, and we had more his home address. I mean, we had the business address for Jonathan Lehman and sort of the home address and home information, home contact information for Johnny Lehman. So it brought it over, but it was the primary information for Johnny. We can't have two sets of primary phone, primary email, and primary address. So it brought those over as informational addresses. So we can decide what we want to do that. You know, we can either decide, well, in this case, I want to make that the second address. I don't want it just to be an informational address, or maybe, maybe we actually want this to be the primary address, the mailing address, and we'll make this one the secondary address. So you want to kind of review your contact information and make sure that the information brought over. Maybe you don't even want one of these phone numbers. You can actually remove one of these phone numbers. So once your merge is done, you kind of want to review what it did, maybe compare it to the reports that you printed ahead of time, and just kind of make sure that all the information is there the way you'd want it. It's primarily that kind of review would be more for this type of attribute information and probably your contact information, donations, pledges, things like that. You would definitely want to bring over whatever was in the previous donor. So you save your changes. So now you have Jonathan Lehman there as one donor. You can communicate with Jonathan Lehman as one donor. You're not in danger of mailing to him multiple times in a mailing because he's in your database more than once. You have an accurate reflection of his total giving and his total pledging. It's not spread across two different donors. And so now you can move on and continue to interact with Jonathan in a more accurate way. So we hope that this video has been helpful. We hope that you will be able to use the power of merging donors to keep your database accurate and clean. Thank you for watching this video, and we hope that in some small way that GiftWorks can help your mission and help your organization accomplish the mission that it was called to.